Hello everyone, welcome back to Birdcage Craft Studio with me, Sue Ralph, and today I'm going to give you tip 26 of my From Me to You crafting tips, and I thought we'd talk about glue. Now, it wasn't until I decided to do this video that I realised how much glue I actually have. It's a ridiculous amount, so I can see why some people who are new to crafting actually get a little bit sort of, I don't know, daunted by the amounts of glues that there are on the market these days. So anyway, I thought I'd just go through a few of them and just sort of give you my version of what I use them for. So I have a glue gun here, and obviously you put the glue sticks in the back, and I tend to use this bad boy for things like when I'm sticking heavier embellishments onto different projects, you know, like picture frames and boxes and anything that really needs to have a lot of glue to keep the heavier embellishments. So I tend to use that one. Okay, so then I have this E600 or 6000, is it? 6000, which I bought quite a while ago on the internet, and I tend to use this one. It's an industrial strength glue, and I tend to use this one if I'm doing, again, larger projects that need a lot of strength to keep things together. So again, the heavier projects, like if you're making frames, not so much paperwork, but it's anything with the heavier embellishments, or if you want to put china pieces together, or glass, it's also very good for that. So there's a lot of uses for that. That's not one of the glues that you have to have on your list. It's just one that I've used on several occasions. I've also started using the pin flare book binding glue, because that's brilliant, especially if you're doing anything with fabric, and if you want to stick fabric onto cardstock, or if you want to do some sort of home decor with material. Also, the other thing is I'm sort of making a couple of bags at the moment, so it's very good for sticking material onto the Hessian bags. So there's that one. Then Mod Podge I've used in a previous video, and this is quite good because it's a glue but it's also a finish as well. So you can spread that on, and your glue, your papers, whatever you're using, stick very nicely to this, and then you can cover it. So it's especially good for things like if you're using tissue paper or thin paper, and it gives a seal to it, so you know it doesn't sort of come up. And I tend to use that if I'm doing a lot of these altered boxes. And then we come on to pin flare glue. Pin flare glue is really good, again, for sort of sticking chunkier embellishments, but especially on card making and scrapbooking, because it sort of grabs what you're doing. But the one thing I find it's really good for is if you've got like ribbon embellishments that you want to stick down. Ribbon, and especially glittered cardstock, are terrible to actually stick anything together. So this is really good because it's a thick gel, and you can sort of get it into the pores of the material that you're using, so that is really good. And then we come on to things like the Cosmic Shimmer, and that's sort of online with the Tombow that I like. So these are really good for sort of paper crafts and card as well. And then we have Flitter Glue, and I use that quite a lot, especially if I'm using Mega Flakes, because that's what it was made for. So this glue is very, very tacky, and it stays tacky for a long time, and then you can sort of put your flitter flakes on. I used this one in a project not long ago for the Indigo Blue Challenge that I've made a card for the flowers, so you check that out, that's really good. And then we're coming on to sort of what I call the lighter type of glue. So mini glue dots. A lot of people use these. I don't tend to use them as much. I tend to sort of go with my wet glue or my double-sided tape. But these are very good for sticking on small embellishments. Again, quite good for things like bows. And it's just using, you know, to stick card on card, you know, if you're layering up. And these come on a little roll. You can get various sizes. These are the tiny dots. I don't know if you can actually see them on there. But as I said, they're very good for adding sort of smaller embellishments. And then we are coming on to things like double-sided tape. This is really good for, especially if you're doing layering, for putting cardstock onto cardstock. And if you've got a card that you've made with a slightly heavier front, this is really good because it stops it from sort of buckling up, and you know that once it's stuck, it's stuck. But the one thing I would recommend that you get yourself is a pokey tool, because some of these double-sided tapes, especially the extra sticky, this is the ones that I buy, sometimes to get the lining tape off is quite difficult. If you've got longer nails it's okay, but I always find if you use a pokey tool you can help flick up the ends and get that started. And then talking about double-sided tape, you can get double-sided sheets, and these are really good if you want to make your own embellishments, or if you've got die cuts. What you can do is you can stick your, whether it's material or card or whatever, onto this, die cut it through the machine, and then you just remove the back in and you've got a nice sticky surface to then sort of stick down your embellishment that you've made. And then we come over to things like the snail or glue runners, and I use these quite a lot for putting toppers, paper onto card. Now, that's quite a light fix. If you're going to be making your main card, then I would suggest that you actually use something like double-sided tape to keep it together. And then washi tape. Again, you can just decorate your cards with that, but I use it a lot if I'm doing my die cutting. If I'm not using my magnetic plaque form, that's really good to keep your dies in place. And this is the same, same sort of thing. This is a low tack. And then last but not least is the glue stick. Now that I don't use as much. It's quite good for putting paper onto paper, but the one thing I do use it for is if I'm layering cards up and I'm using my double-sided sticky tape, I put some of this over the top of the tape, and it actually helps to, you have a little bit of manoeuvrability, so that's quite good if you don't want to sort of put your paper down in the wrong place. Anyway, the one last tip I wanted to share with you is that if you're putting layers of card on your base card, I suggest you use double-sided tape. I have found if you use a wet glue, what happens is it tends to make the card base buckle, so you can actually see where you've stuck glue on. So if I've got, say, 2 or 3 layers, I tend to use double-sided tape first of all, just to put it on the base card, so then you don't see that glue coming through, and then you can use the glue afterwards because it won't go through 2 layers. Anyway, I hope that helps, and I'll be back tomorrow with another tip from me to you. See you then. Bye.